This is Southern Cross News with Rachel Williams.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Concerns have been raised tonight that there's a disconnect between the Health Minister and his department, following reports that doctors' cries for help were ignored. But Michael Ferguson says he had no knowledge of the issue and is working to resolve it.
Tasmania is again losing one of its medical specialists, with the North and Northwest's only neurologist, Dr Kurian Koshi, putting in his resignation. The Health Minister says it's always sad to see clinicians go.
I'd like to say that we do want to wish Dr Koshi all the best.
But concerns have been raised about why the neurologist is leaving. He's reportedly told media that his workload has been increasing and there has been no effort from the Health Department to provide any further help.
I'm disappointed to read in the press that there are suggestions that there were concerns raised that have been ignored. That is simply not correct. There have been no concerns raised by Dr Koshi with the government.
Just indicates clearly again that this minister is disconnected from his workforce, isn't listening to the concerns that they're raising, and it's ultimately led to this circumstance ending the worst way possible.
The AMA says this isn't the first suspected disconnect.
We've made quite a bit of comment about what we consider the dysfunction of the THS and the leadership, and that's been going on, as we've said, for pushing 2 years now. There are some early signs that is improving.
Attempts have been made to persuade Dr Koshi to stay, but is expected to move in August. Mr Ferguson says work will now begin to fill the role. A second neurologist may also be employed for the region.
In order to attract them for Tasmania, we need a good package with job security.
Locums will assist while permanent staff are found. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Back home now, and Tasmania is continuing to exceed expectations in the tourism market, with new visitor survey figures showing the state welcomed a record 1.26 million arrivals during the year to March, a 7% increase on the previous year.
They're staying longer, they're spending more, and they're getting right out into regional Tasmania and enjoying everything we have to offer.
Visitor spending also grew 11% to more than $2.2 billion. Tasmania's national parks have long been a major drawcard for the tourism industry. But rather than grand peaks, gigantic trees and mighty rivers, a minute specimen is being tipped as the next big thing to further boost visitation numbers. The attraction? Fungi at Mountfield National Park.
Rachel Power has lived and worked in Mountfield National Park for 5 years and says the beauty of the area is so rich, the visitor numbers are now rivalling that of Cradle Mountains. But surprisingly this season, the fungi is proving to be the main drawcard.
Being in a national park, when things fall, they're left to where they fall. So it means that the fungi just absolutely every year gets better and better and better along the same walk. So you can do the walk 3 times a week and it'll be different every single time.
A Sunday stroll in the area was an educational trip for this group, there to learn about species they might not have known ever existed.
I think it opens people's eyes. Instead of just walking around this loop and getting to the falls as quickly as possible, they'll be looking from side to side now, yeah.
The group informed about the crucial relationship between trees and different types of fungi.
And the fungus, because it has this incredible network of mycelium under the ground, it can translocate extra water, extra phosphorus through to the tree. So it actually, in different parts of the world, they enable trees to live in very inhospitable environments.
Tasmania's oldest national park, long regarded as a photographer's wonderland. Visitors are flocking to Mountfield to see not only the spectacular waterfalls, but also the thousands of different types of fungi that are found here.
I've seen some blue ones, yellow, I've seen green, red.
The heritage-listed Mountfield offers delights for the young and for the old.
They get up here and they really enjoy the environment. It's very easy to tell them that fairies live here.
One of the top places in Australia. Yeah. If you haven't been here, you haven't been here. You don't know what you're missing. Yeah.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Welcome back. 12 Tasmanian firms have been recognised at the state's 2017 Architecture Awards. Everything from colourful public toilets to breweries and residential homes, helping designers win awards in Hobart last night.
Tucked away on Hobart's Barrack Street is one of Tasmania's best architectural designs. Preston Lane Architects taking out the Small Project Award for the Milkman's Cottage at last night's Tasmanian Architecture Awards.
We had a number of projects nominated this year, and to take out 2 projects, this one in particular was our offices just across the road, so it's a project which we hold quite dearly.
The Australian Institute of Architects Tasmania president says it's a good example of a homeowner wanting to make the most of a modest budget.
The quality of what's been produced value adds to his spend. It means that he gets a custom designed home to live in, as well as in terms of an investment return, it will be superb.
The quality of entries in the awards described as exceedingly high.
What I could probably draw attention to was a number of young practices that's pulled in a suite of awards.
Room 11 took out 4, including the Sustainable and Commercial Award for Shambles Brewery. Core Collective and Taylor Hine Architects also took out a few. The Buchan Group also won for its Launceston Airport transformation. And for those wanting a little inspiration for their own renovation work,
I'm trying to sort of make the most of all of those things that you can draw into a space. So whether it be light or whether it be volume, you don't have to have the biggest site to actually come out with a good end result.
Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
2017 marks 50 years since one of Tasmania's most controversial games of football. Known as the Goalpost Final, the state premiership match between Wynyard and North Hobart descended into chaos. Fans invaded the pitch and the game was famously declared no contest. Tonight we speak to those who were there when it happened.
It's a torpedo kick, it's falling short. And Dickie Collins, I think it is.
It was probably one of the most physical games that I've played in.
Has marked the ball. The crowd are coming onto the ground.
It was every man for himself.
A typically windy day at West Park delivered a most atypical game of football. In 1967, 2 sides, largely unknown to each other, played off for the state premiership. Wynyard, the best side in the northwest, earned the right to host the southern champions, North Hobart.
A lot of hype, telegrams and best wishes from players that had played previously, club supporters.
Roxley Snare was Wynyard's runner that day. He remembers the 2 captains charging at the ball early on.
John Devine and John Cogden, they clashed in the centre of West Park here, and they were just like a couple of bulls. They were just hard-at-it players, and it took a lot of sting out of them too.
Regional rivalry and on-ground indiscretion was at its peak. Bob Rees was one of many players on both sides to cop a well-timed whack behind play.
In them days, I know the rules have changed. You can't go off and then get stitches and then come back on, so they had to stitch my eye up with butterfly stitches on the side of the ground.
The game a classic in its own right, but these final moments made it infamous.
And Dickie Collins, I think it is.
Wynyard was in front by a single point when North Hobart's full forward David Dickie Collins marked 15 metres out. Then major confusion.
The siren has apparently gone while we haven't heard the crowd have come onto the ground.
The umpire believed Collins took the mark before the siren went, thereby allowing him to kick for goal. But Wynyard was outraged, believing the mark was taken after the siren. In riotous scenes, fans stormed the field.
Well, it only seemed to be about 2 or 3 minutes, and I was just surrounded by hundreds of people. And then next thing, all of a sudden, the goal six come down. I reckon it's about 2 metres away from me. The goal six come down, bang onto the ground. One of them did. I thought, what the hell's happening,
North Hobart's Trevor Best was one player caught in the chaos.
And we were surrounded by heaps and heaps of people we didn't know. We were pushed and shoved and kicked.
Best left the ground before later attempting to take the fallen goalposts back to Hobart on a train.
And with this, the police arrive and wanted to know where the goalpost was. They'd had a report it was stolen. With this, we did tell them that, no, we didn't take it anyway. Eventually, they realised they were standing on it. It was down the aisle of the train.
But what about Dickie Collins, the man in the middle of it all, lining up with no goalposts and no crowd control?
Yeah, I feared that someone had tried to grab the ball off me, so I put it up my red and blue North Hobart jumper.
50 years on, he still has that same ball.
There's a lot of jostling and pushing and both sides reckon they won and both sides think they were robbed.
In the following days, the league suggested a rematch be played here at York Park, but disagreements between the two sides caused a stalemate. Eventually, the league declared the game a no contest and withheld the premiership for that year. The incident sparked fanatic attention in the press, splashed across the front page of newspapers and depicted in Melbourne's Herald Sun.
A fitting result probably would have been a draw the way the game was played, but anyway, it didn't happen, and it's still going 50 years later. People are still talking about it, so that's one of the good things about it, that you can always live to remember games like that.
The crowd have come onto the ground. He's got to take his kick, and so they're going to have to get the crowd off.
To this day, the clubs disagree on who really won the 1967 Grand Final, leaving a premiership in limbo and a story forever in football folklore. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanians living with diabetes have learned some tips on how to live well and manage their symptoms. Attendees at the Diabetes Tasmania Expo at the Door of Hope hearing they need to exercise regularly and control their mental health.
You live with diabetes 24/7. You're with a health professional for a limited period of time in that, whole year, for example. So having these skills is really, really important.
Almost 27,000 Tasmanians live with diabetes.
In the TSL, an emotional Mitch Thorpe has praised his young side's resilience after the club managed its first win of the season in yesterday's Coastal Derby. While Clarence coach Jeremy Webberley admitted to some smoke and mirrors after Jake Cox was a no-show for the Roos, despite claims he'd be a sure starter.
Breathing a big sigh of relief, the monkey is finally off Devonport's back.
It was the elephant in the room a little bit. Were Devonport going to win a game? Now, I can be as confident as I want and portray a strong message that hang in there, we'll be fine.
With half the Pies squad teenagers, Thorpe couldn't hide his emotion after yesterday's 34-point win over the Dockers.
They're certainly undervalued. I mean, they're good, honest, young men that all train 3 nights a week, that get paid very little to travel the state. Probably that's why I was a little bit emotional. We knew we were definitely on the right track, and there's a brick in the wall of a bright future for this group.
After being declared fit to play all week, Jake Cox was a no-show for the Roos in the Eastern Shore Derby, and the Clarence coach couldn't help but crack a wry smile following the 18-point win.
No, Cox didn't play, mate. No, just we trained Thursday night. Why risk him? He should be right this week, if you believe on that. He should be right. I know Winnie thought about it all week.
The Bombers coach didn't see the funny side after the home side fell away late in the match.
We went away from a lot of our structures. We were pretty poor in the last quarter. Pretty much for the whole game, we gave away around a lot of soft free kicks.
To NPL, and South Hobart has sent a big message to fellow contenders Devonport with a 4-goal thrashing of Launceston City. The visitors had 2 unanswered goals on the board come the half-time whistle before slotting another shortly after play resumed. Noel Miles answered back for City, the home side's one and only for the match. South making it look all too easy, putting 2 more through en route to the 5-1 win. Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
The Launceston Tornadoes are sitting pretty at 3rd spot on the Seaball ladder following a 12-point win over Albury-Wodonga at home overnight. It was a gutsy win for the young side, coming back in the second half and doing so without captain Lauren Mansfield. In the Northwest, the Thunder earned themselves a much-needed win, but only just, getting up by 3 points over the Bandits.
With their star Lauren Mansfield away on Opal's duties, Lauren Nicholson had a chance to step up, and step up she did, top scoring with 21 points. But the Tawns were sluggish early as Albury-Wodonga turned up the heat. The visitors making the most of some lacklustre Tawns defence to take a handy 9-point lead at the first break. Coach Richard Dickel's pep talk seemed to have the desired effect as the home side rallied in the second term. Rebecca Abel getting it done from downtown, and the Tawns were right back in it. You import Millie Koinameinavure spent most of the game on the bench, acclimatising to the Elfin atmosphere, but it made little difference. A dominant third term saw the Tawns 6 points up heading into the home stretch, with the side showing guts in the absence of their captain, closing out the match by 12 points. Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanian parasailer Matt Bugg has moved to 2nd overall at the Sports World Championships in Germany. Bugg won the final race of the day to put himself into gold medal contention. The final 2 races of the tournament are being held tonight.
Good evening. A mostly fine day across the north and east. Showers persisted in the west and south of the state. Hobart, Launceston and St Helens all reached the state's top of 13. Mount Wellington recorded the state's low of just -3. There was enough heat to get the washing dry today at Lowhead, Wynyard, Friendly Beaches and the Islands all hitting a top of 13. Cooler temperatures across the Central Plateau and West Coast with Strawn on 11 and Lyweenie struggling to reach 5. The satellite shows a cold front crossing the state and low-level cloud hovering the south of the country. Mid-level cloud over WA continuing to produce isolated thunderstorms. Up close, mid and high-level cloud crossing the state throughout the day, leaving behind a stream of low-level cloud. Tomorrow, a high-pressure system is becoming more dominant over the country as the front will move over the Tasman. On the water, southwesterly winds up to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots about the south and east. Swells up to 5 metres around the west and the south. A gale warning is current for northern coastal waters from Stanley to St Helens Point and Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point. Tomorrow, cloudy in Hobart, 13 degrees, showers for Dover and Ouse with 12, frost for Launceston, 13, mostly sunny in Devonport, 13, Scottsdale, sunny and 11. Showers around the north for Burnie, Stanley, 13, Strawn, showers and 11, St Helens and Swansea, sunny with 14 and a frosty start for Ross with 11 degrees. Looking ahead to Tuesday, sunny for Hobart, St Helens and Launceston, showers for Burnie and Strawn, showers contracting to the west on Wednesday with north to northwesterly winds. And the showers will continue on Thursday across the north, west and far south, snowfall lowering to 700 metres. Around the country tomorrow, Perth mostly sunny, Melbourne showers 14, Brisbane mostly sunny with 25 and Darwin cooking eggs in the sun on 31. And currently sitting on 9 in Hobart with showers, Launceston 7, partly cloudy, Devonport 9 and clear. That's it from me. Thanks, Rach.
Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks so much for your company this evening. I'm Rachel Williams. Have a great week. Good night.